As an I have a dark download for you today. I don't have anything written down or prepared. So, this is just me trying to translate a divine message into human language. So, this is the goddess speaking. I want you to think about a time when you were in full disagreement with the majority. Whether you were in a room with friends and you had a different perspective, or you know that you disagree with trends or common ideologies within the mass collective. What do you do with your thoughts? Do you voice them? Or do you keep it to yourself because you know that it would start a long and drawn out passive aggressive back and forth between you and your friends or between your colleagues and associates? And to avoid this discomfort, you don't say anything at all because is it really that important? And if you deem it to not be that important, that the relationship that you have with said person, whether it is platonic, romantic, or just casual, is more important than your need to express your thoughts and opinions. So then you don't say anything. Makes sense. But then that would actually make you a part of the majority. We all see what happens when those who have an alternative thought process expresses that thought. Look at Kanye West. Remember when he said slavery was a choice? What do you think about that statement? Did you understand what he said? Did you agree? Do you feel the backlash that he received for expressing himself valid and the right course of action? I want you to think about these things. I want you to think about what it costs to express your individuality. In a country that says there is freedom of speech, notice what happens to individuals who decide that they're going to live their life against the status quo, decide that they're not going to follow the generalized social norms. What if they decide not to have a job because they don't feel like being a battery for a system that does not care about the soul? What if they decide to not live in a house because squares equate to confinement and they would like to live in nature because that is more natural and conducive to the expansion of the consciousness? Would you or would you not call that person homeless, a vagrant, lost? Or would you be open to their perspective as to why a box with a door and windows does not truly equate a home, and that a person can actually find home in the openness and vastness of nature? We need to change our perception about what a home means, about what it means to think for oneself, about why we do not feel free enough to share our authentic thoughts and feelings. It is because we have orchestrated an environment where freedom of thought can both be liberating and responsible for exile. That's what we call cancel culture these days. If you do not align with the mass majority and their ideals, you are liable to be canceled. Now, what this means to the average person, probably not much. But to those who have a large following and great influence, it means a lot. Because now your livable situation is now incumbent upon the opinions of your fans. If you are canceled completely inappropriately, then that also would mean that you would lose your profitability. You will no longer be supported. You will now have to rethink how you will make an income to survive. But really and truly, we live in an era where even if we have cancel culture, the truth of the matter is the collective is not strong enough to truly cancel someone that they feel should be canceled because we are slaves to our own emotions. We don't know what it is to stand on principle. We do not have the fortitude to actually go without. When it comes to our comfort or convenience, we will not sacrifice those things for the sake of moral principles. We live in an era where we are complacent with our oppression. So let me ask you this. What happens to the person who decides to speak out against that complacency? What happens to the person who is aware that many people are not strong enough to stand on what it is they say and calls attention to the hypocrisy? What happens to that person who actually exercises their freedom of thought and freedom of speech and mostly says and exercises their free will in the way that most people are not used to seeing or hearing? What happens to that person? Do you think that the world will cheer them on and follow their lead and example? Or do you think they will be criticized? Do you think they will be misunderstood? Do you think that they will be demonized and ostracized? Usually, when someone is fully awakened, they're usually looked at as crazy. Now, why is that? Why is the perception that someone who is fully awakened is crazy? And I have a question for you. If you are fully awakened, what do you do in a world that is not? Do you keep your mouth shut? Do you play along with the story that you have been told? Do you follow the general status quo because it makes others comfortable? Or do you live out loud? Do you go against what everyone has come to know and be the one thing that represents the opposite? What do you do? There is no manual for those who exist outside of the collective frequency. There is no manual. And it is a rarity to even get to that level where you are the sole person outside of the collective consciousness, operating in a different frequency altogether, to where you can see the whole. That is rare. Not everyone can get there. One thing that people don't realize is that when it comes to elevating and reaching a level of consciousness that no one else resides on, the danger that comes with that is loss of connection. The first time you walk into a room and you are the first one there, at first it feels serene, quiet, and it may feel calming. But after some time of being there, you start to feel alone and wondering why no one else is coming through that door behind you. This is what it feels like to enter the fourth dimension, the next dimension. And I know, and I can tell you because I have entered the fourth dimension reality. I have expanded my awareness to heights and levels to where now my perception surpasses all of humanity. And I am the first one there. So the danger that no one tells you, as many religions that has been here to give out sacred secrets, as many gurus as we have, as many shamans, as many people that has so-called tapped into source. No one has mentioned the danger of expanding your conscious awareness to the point where you are the only one in the next dimension, getting there before everyone else. This is dangerous because humanity is supposed to elevate together. Now, while on an individual level, on a small scale, we may see some that are more elevated than others. We may see some that are committed to their ignorance, while some are dedicated to their elevation and healing. Yes, but the frequency of the earth dictates humanity's conscious level at a whole. So right now, as long as reality is expressing in a third dimensional form, then we should be operating in third dimensional consciousness. Right now, we are moving into the fifth dimension. The fifth dimension is obviously the golden age. And that's where humanity is headed, because that is our next cycle of existence. But there is a level of existence that is in between the one that we reside on currently and the one where we are going. And right in between is the experience that is not yet described by anyone that I can think of. It is the halfway point to total perception. At our current stage, we do not have the power to utilize all of our senses. We are limited to 5. And even with those 5, we are unable to perceive all frequencies. Our sight is limited. Our hearing is limited. And we know this because there are certain animals who can see and hear and emit sonic rays to a frequency that we can't possibly experience. So we understand that there is levels beyond our level of perception. Have I reached the fifth dimension? No, not yet. Not at all. I am in the fourth dimension. Now, in the fourth dimension, time doesn't exist. It's relative. In the fourth dimension, you have a higher perception than third dimensional reality. So sometimes you can see through the matrix. You can see true reality, not just the illusion. The problem with having a higher perception is still being trapped in third dimensional existence. So the thing about the fourth dimension is your body doesn't necessarily change. Your body is still attuned to the earth, which keeps your particles just as dense as everyone else's. So now time, or the way in which this reality is moving, feels slow, almost still, like it's not moving or moving in slow motion. Now, what are you supposed to do once you get to this stage? What am I supposed to do? Now that I'm here, I can see everything. I know things that the collective does not know. And everything is moving in slow motion. What do I do now? And because no one has spoken about this, actually existing in fourth dimensional consciousness with a third dimensional body, no one is able to prepare you for it. Well, no one was able to prepare me for it. So one thing that I've learned is that elevating to fourth dimensional reality, it's a very dangerous thing while you're still operating and existing within third dimensional reality. Because now it is going to be beyond difficult to establish resonance with other beings. So, all these years that I have been trying to find resonance, it has been difficult, or it has been shallow, or it just, it's been disappointment after disappointment. And the reason why is because I've been on a separate frequency than others without even realizing it. I haven't settled into it completely yet for me to know, you know what I'm saying? So now that I've had this awakening, I have done everything to elevate my consciousness. I've grounded myself, connected to Mother Nature, blocked out all the noise. I've integrated my light and my shadow. I've done deep reflection and introspection. And I've allowed divine messages to be downloaded. I've opened all my chakras and allowed this vessel to be home to the goddess. And now my vibration has surpassed the general public. Trying to find that same vibration and frequency in another when no one has reached there yet is impossible. So now I'm in a space where I must await until others do the same work and elevate and step into the fourth dimension reality with me. I tell you this because it is a warning. A warning against elevation. Now, I know that elevation is something that I preach on a daily. It is encouraged. And while I still encourage that you elevate your consciousness, I also would like for you to be mindful about how much you work on yourself. Because at a certain point, you're going to elevate out of the sphere where you're going to be able to connect with others. And if connection is important to you, then you're leaving the possibility of you being connected with others because they're not coming with you. And most times they will not come with you. And this is a reality for those who want to surpass simple conscious awareness, level 1, level 2, level 3. Once you get to level 4, you're entering dangerous territory. This is let me help you understand what I'm speaking about. Think about the monks that go into temple life, go into a monastic order, and they dissolve their ego to the point where they no longer have attachments or desires for the material world. They get rid of friends, relatives. They do not marry or have children. They do not buy clothes. They do not use money. They go around and service the community and eat once a day. Now imagine if a monk who has been living that life decided to now come to the United States and try to make friends with him keeping the conscious awareness that he is at. How easy or difficult do you think would be for him to make friends? And I mean like real friends, not people who are just going to ask him questions about his life and then walk away. If this particular monk decided he wanted to now get married or have kids, that means he would have to come down from his conscious awareness, regain his ego, to now regain the desire for marriage and children in the first place before he can even find a wife and child. Most people don't speak about this, but the closer you are to the divine, the closer you are to dissolving your ego and your sense of self. And when you are dissolving your sense of self, you are once again becoming whole with the highest consciousness. That means you are no longer you anymore. Your identity is for you to be able to navigate this reality, not the highest reality. The highest reality does not need the individuation of your name, your identity, your face, your body, your age. None of that exists. So the higher you go in your conscious awareness, the closer to the divine reality you go, the more of yourself you lose, the more of yourself you let go. And that also means that the more you let go of common connection, family, friends, romance, they begin to dissipate with your ego, with your identity, with your body. So the problem with your conscious awareness moving towards the divine reality, but your body still stuck in third dimension, in the reality where people still have identities and bodies and connection and families, you're now in a middle space, a contradiction, where you can be pulled between each polarity, the polarity of self or the polarity of what is. Which way do you go? Because it's difficult to operate in this midsection. Because you have both desires equally. You equally desire to live in the divine reality, in the oneness, and you equally desire to live in the separateness, to have love and connection. You equally desire both. And that is the contradiction of this state. So I advise for all of you to be aware of what comes with stepping into the fourth dimension, the in between. In this in between, you are presented with everything, both polarities. You must make a choice. Will you continue to go forward towards divine reality, ultimately dissolving your ego, but gaining full awareness, full perception of reality, not affected by illusions? Or will you go back into the illusion so that you can experience love, connection, belonging, your sense of individuality, your selfhood? Think about this. Because it's difficult to exist in the fourth dimension when everyone else is in the third, operating in truth when others choose ignorance, when everyone around you is intentionally misleading themselves for the sake of comfort, for the sake of social survivability, for the sake of not being ostracized, for the sake of not being lonely. For the sake of approval of outside perception. When you're in the in-between, you know that none of this matters and none of it is real. But you watch everyone around you operate within this illusion. So which way do you go? Do you continue to play the game? Or do you continue forward and lose yourself and become a part of the oneness? And if you were to go back and play the game and operate just as everyone else does, how would one even do that? Because really and truly, once you know, how can you unknow? How? I'll let you ponder on that. Let me know your thoughts. I'll speak with you all soon. This has been my message. As an I.